What's up everyone, it's Chachi Power here with Rocket Punch Army to do a review for the Transformers Generations Fall of Cybertron Autobot Jazz by Hasbro. As you can see, this is a standard blister pack design package. Level 2 transformation as it states down here. It's got the vehicle mode here, the figure here, and there I am in the background. Let me squish my face around. And if we turn it around back here, we get the prototype pictures over here. And if you guys have ever really stared at this, the prototypes are really ugly because they're most likely hand painted and 3D printed resin pieces, so whatever. Anyway, so right here is the spec card with the little graph there showing off his strength, intelligence, speed, endurance, rank, courage, fire blast, skill. So this is my second review for a figure in this line. The first one I did was Shockwave, which is either up or should be up shortly, and this is number 1, Shockwave being number 3. So I picked this up. This was the first figure I got, and I don't like, I don't know, it's something about these new generation figures, except for maybe Shockwave. They're just very, very cheap looking, almost like knockoff quality. I mean, you know, I'm used to the other generations figures that are very, very nice, and this is just not doing it for me. But it just could be from the lack of paint apps, which is why when I start the review, I'm going to show you this guy here. So you'll notice he's got panel lining. I just could not help it. I've had this guy less than a day, and I've gone ahead and already panel lined, did some washes to it, and just make it a tad better. I just can't stand to see it all white and cheap looking, so I did that. So here is the vehicle mode with the weapon up top here. It rolls, so that's good. Alright, so working wheels. And just so I don't ruin the review and have you guys think that certain things come painted when they really don't, I didn't do much to it. Just anything you see with panel lines really is not there. Panel lines are just molded in. I've colored them in, so everything else that you see is actual factory paint apps, like the blue here, the black here, the gray on these boosters or whatever they are, the blue here, that's blue plastic, all the paint here, the red trim on the wheels, the gray here, that's all factory. If we look up at the bottom here, same thing. These little lines I did myself, so just trying to ignore those just for the sake of the review, and I apologize that I didn't do the review before doing the panel lines. But we're going to go ahead with the transformation. You just simply remove the weapon here if you have it installed, and it's quite simple. At first it kind of annoyed me, but after a couple transformations it's not too bad. So you're going to want to pop off the top here. Just bring them right off these tabs that are right there. Alright, bring that out. Then bring the legs down like so. Fix the feet. Separate this way. And just pull this down. This kind of folds here like so, getting the head to come out. And there's this little triangle piece that's going to actually tab right into his butthole. So just work it down like so. Tab it right in the back, and that makes this fold a little bit more, thus bringing his head up this way. And then there's these little things here, these little indentations, which actually slot right into one of the blue parts here somewhere. There you go, slots right in there, which pretty much leaves you with the arms. Now the arms, check this out, which is pretty interesting. You don't just fold it down this way, although you know, that would just make the arms. No, they took it a step further and actually made them a bit more transformable. So to do that, you're going to have to unpeg it from here. Simply bring it up a bit like so. Then it unpegs from the top here like that. Move that out of the way. This panel just comes right over the side and covers the wheel. So apparently this wheel is not really supposed to be there. Somehow the wheel probably becomes this part right here, because this wheel is non-functional. This one hides and this one appears. So somehow in the transformation the front wheel becomes part of his feet, I guess, because the other wheels are shown right here. So let's continue along. Same thing. Just repeat the same thing. And snap it here, rotate this, bring the hands out, hands out. And let's just attach the weapon before we continue on. Now, here he is. Not too bad looking. I do have a little bit of a problem with some of the proportions, but before we get into that, I do want to show you the articulation. So the head does move, does this kind of movement. It's on a ball joint, so your standard ball joint movement, except it's a bit limited. He's got a long chin which bangs up against the sides here. He's got the shoulders on a ball joint also. Alright, you got the elbows, and you'll notice, well actually this pops off, which is kind of annoying. Let's put that back, but that's really only because the elbows are kind of hard to move unless you grab the whole arm. Now the reason they're kind of hard to move is because they're actually ratcheted. I don't know if you can hear it, but you can see it, that it stops. And the hand is on a ball joint, so you can spin it around. There is no waist. He's got the ball jointed hips. They're actually a two-piece design. You got the ball joint that comes out of his crotch with a blue socket piece, and that socket piece goes into the white thigh here. And the knees are painted blue. They are also ratchet type, which I think is really cool. If they can continue doing ratchet type joints on Transformers, I'll be happy. Then you got the feet. They just ratchet also. Very, very slight ratchet. It looks like the ratchets are made up of the treads here just hitting into a little piece of plastic there. And the feet are painted white. Now, I was complaining about the proportions. So, if you look at it from the side, he's got really skinny legs. Hollow back here. This back part is not too bad looking. I actually like the way that looks. He's got this big gap with a floating neck, which I don't like too much. The arms are okay, but one of the things that really does bother me is the really narrow hips. I don't really like that. I mean, you can kind of get away with it. I don't know if it's just the hips are narrow or the legs are short and thin. I think the legs should have been maybe a tad longer, maybe bigger down here. Just something to just clean up the proportions. I wanted to show you in the box here that even though his head is G1 inspired, it shows a little blue visor lighting up and everything. It didn't carry over to the toy. Now normally the way Hasbro would take care of this is doing a light piping setup, and you'll see the visor looks kind of black. What strikes me as strange is instead of molding the visor out of clear blue plastic, because if you take a look back here, that same kind of black plastic is used as light piping back here, except it's too dark to even shine any kind of light through. Because if I look at it, it does look like it may be clear, it's just really dark, which kind of just makes a big fail for the visor. They should have done it with clear blue, and that would have been so much better. Now onto the topic of the plastic. Yeah, I know plastic is more expensive now, this blah 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 blah. I don't like the way this felt or looked. It just looked really cheap, and I mentioned that earlier in the video, but I mean, this is another figure that was released not too long ago. It's been a little while since it came out, but not too long ago, and this is worth what this costs, which is about 15 bucks at Toys R Us. I mean, just look at the difference. It's bigger. The plastic doesn't feel anywhere near as cheap. And aside from the repro labels that I did, it's just the molding is so much sharper. This is more like a soft type molding, and all the molding on this is super sharp. So I don't know what's going on. Prices are staying the same. Figures are getting smaller and cheaper looking. But yeah, so that's my little rant there for that, which is what got me to do all the panel lining. But overall, not too bad. I like the ratchets. It still looks good. And it's a Generations figure, which is good because I do hope they continue the line. Doesn't necessarily have to be more Fall of Cybertron figures. I would like to see more G1 inspired figures, but I am glad the line is going forward. So this is going to be it for today, guys. Please leave questions or comments below. Until next time, bye bye.